I think the best place to start probably is the old American dollar.
Mm-hmm.
On the back of every American dollar, Howard, as you can see here, we have the two seals. And so I did a careful study of this. This is something could never be taught in an American high school. You'd destroy the whole of the American system if they learned what these are. These are witchcraft seals on the back of every American dollar. You'll see the pyramid with the eye and the triangle, the Latin words and so on. This side, the so-called eagle. And I did a full study on this, which is written up in this book, Better Than Nostradamus. Basically, it means this: the pyramid is the symbol of the Illuminati groups or the world government groups who are setting up the one world government right now, as I speak to you in 1998.
Yeah, already.
At the top there we have an eye and a triangle. Many people try and tell me that's the eye of God, but we know it's not, as we will show you in a minute. Down the bottom we have a date 1776, which is the date the Illuminati, a secret society, was inaugurated in Europe, in Bavaria actually. The Encyclopedia Britannica says under the auspices of a man called Adam Weishaupt. He was a Jesuit priest who defected and became a Luciferian. And his plan was to put Lucifer on the throne of the world, or Satan. Therefore we have that Luciferian eye in the triangle. Now, some people, of course, who belong to various societies tell me that's the eye of God, and some religious people say that's the all-seeing eye of God. I say, I will now prove you're wrong. If we look at the Latin words there, annua chaptus, it means announcing the birth of, and down the bottom, novus ordo seclorum. A friend of mine from Johannesburg, South Africa, wrote to Oxford University and asked them, would they give him a translation of the word seclorum? They said, that's where we get the word secular, heathenistic, ungodly, or godless. The word novus means new, ordo means order of a secular nature. Now let's put that in order. We have Lucifer, the eye and the triangle, saying, I am announcing the birth of a secular, heathenistic, ungodly, one world government, one world church, one world political system, and one world economic system. So then we see that they're setting the whole thing up now. Jimmy Carter called it Global 2000 and George Bush called it New World Order. And now on this side, we have here the so-called American Eagle. And I have a book at home called The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly Hall, who's a top Freemason writer. And he tells us that's not an eagle at all. That's a phoenix. Anybody who studies history knows a phoenix is a mystical bird that burns in the fire, and then out of the ashes of that fire, it rises again. That's exactly what is happening. Man's first attempt to set up a world government was the Tower of Babel. God destroyed that, and now in these days in which we are living, we see the New World Order emerging, the phoenix rising from the ashes. In his mouth he has in his beak he has a piece of ribbon, and on the ribbon are written the words, e pluribus unum, which means out of many, one. The original idea was to take the 13 building blocks of America here, which are symbols of the world government, and make them the United States of America. 13 colonies, now United States. Now the plan moves on to the whole world system. The Novus Ordo Seclorum means they're taking all the countries of the world, privatizing them, selling them out, and setting up one global village out of many countries. That's what's happening. Now, the interesting thing is, I spoke this somewhere recently. There was an American in the meeting. He said, I'm shocked. I thought I knew all about this, but you gave me an added piece of information. If any listener or any viewer today takes one of these American dollars and puts it on a transparency, cut it in half, and place that circle on top of that circle, you'll see a mass of occult and Masonic symbolism, cleverly designed in those seals. These are witchcraft seals on the back of the American dollar.
Tell us a little bit more about America's involvement here in this secular one world government, because you've also touched on the fact that people, and I've seen Christians actually use that one eye symbol, and it's definitely, they're being misled, because I think God wouldn't set up something that was against himself.
That's the whole point. I had a guy from South Africa arguing with me one day, and he was telling me, look, he said, I've been to America, that's the eye of God. I said, cut it out. I said, why do you think Almighty God would set up a secular, heathenistic, ungodly one world government? Exactly what you're saying. This is the eye of the enemy. And right throughout history, there has been a desire on behalf of many people. For example, Adam Weishaupt, the leader of the Illuminati. We've had Thomas Jefferson. We've had many of the American presidents have known about this system. and they are in favour of setting up this one world government. George Bush called it a New World Order. Jimmy Carter called it Global 2000. And the writer of this particular book tells me that President Clinton will continue the New World Order. He is doing exactly that, as we will show you during the course of this talk today. Now, these seals, by the way, have not always been on the dollar, Howard.
1933 or something?
1933. I was on the Mississippi River one day with some Freemasons who were interested in this subject. They said, we were in your meeting last night. Would you please add a little bit more information on the role of Masonry in this? I said, I'd love to. I said, if you check, part of the jewellery of the Grand Master is that eye which hangs around his neck in his jewellery, you see. That is called the great architect of the universe, but they don't really know who it is. But it's Lucifer. Secret. It is Lucifer. Now, in Freemasonry, the final secret was outlined to us by a man called Albert Pike. He was the Grand Master of Universal Freemasonry many years ago, and he said these words: that which we must say to the crowd is, we worship a God that one can worship without superstition. To you, Sovereign Inspectors General, we say this, and you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be by all of us initiates maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, God of the Christians, bother to spread false and harmful statements about him? Yes, Lucifer is God. This is Albert Pike speaking.
And this is all recorded in secular books too,
it's
isn't
all
it?
in secular books, and so I've got it all in here too.
For people to check it out.
Better than Nostradamus.